Welcome back, fellow soldiers, to this week's Developers Briefing. That is Developers Briefing number 86. After we got update number 7 with huge changes to the metagame, to the animations, to the sound, and also with a new map that is Quarantine map, we experienced some smaller or bigger problems on the servers that the developers are very dedicated to in fixing. And in this week's developers briefing, we're gonna have a closer look at what's there to come for us in the upcoming weeks, how the plan, the master plan looks like on the developer side, since they didn't expect actually to have that much problems after update 7, and since those issues play a bigger role than they expected, especially in solving them. So we're gonna have a closer look at what the developers think the upcoming time frame and the upcoming plan for Hell Let Loose will look like. And the developers also give us a little bit of a lookout on what they are still working on, what they want to change in the future and in upcoming updates. So let's dive right into it. And I have to mention, if you are following and watching the video footage that I usually show during the developers briefing, this one will be from Quarantine map. And you'll see by the quality of the video that there were some major FPS drops, sadly. During recording, I recorded several hours of footage and I couldn't get any better footage, sadly, but hey, let's just listen to my beautiful voice and also what Max has to say. And with his words and his written words, I'm going to open this developers briefing. We thought that it would be useful to now update the community on our current action plans in as granular detail as possible so that you are aware of where our priorities lie. This is to give you a sense of what is to come, as well as to give you behind the scenes look at how we're tackling both the current issues in-game as well as prioritizing future work. In a perfect world, we'd be releasing a simplified roadmap graphic to demonstrate this clearly. However, due to the current in-game issues, crashes being the most persistent, we're going to break down our current action plan for you, then work throughout the current urgent issues and then revise our timescale accordingly before releasing a proper roadmap with adjusted dates. The programming team are also hard at work with our Q&A team to profile and fix the two most common crashes. These two crashes are the map change crash and the Apex crash, respectively. We have huge amounts of logs for both of these, working with both Q&A and the wider community. However, the issues for both are happening in an obscure location, garbage collection and the physics engine, respectively, making it more difficult to nail a certain fix. Whereas other crashes are quite easy to profile and remedy, these are taking the resources of our programming team, as we understand these issues greatly affect your experience with the game. So that's how Max, the developer, is opening the developers briefing, and as you can see, the developers are fully committed now to work on fixing the issues that have been implemented or that came with update number 7 here, especially the crash fixing and also the FPS drops. And that's also why they will postpone publishing a new roadmap of Hell Let Loose. Just so you know, the roadmap is on a timeline. It will be made and published when it's time, but for now they are focusing on the largest problem that affects most of us, and that is especially the crashes that we are experiencing. But once they have dealt with the crashes, the developers also give us a little bit of a outlook on what you can expect. They are still planning on doing an engineer overhaul. They will do a support overhaul. They will add transport and logistics vehicles. They will overhaul the whole supply systems, since a lot of people are still struggling with the role of the support and how to get supply, and if you are depending on a commander that isn't doing anything, you get what I want to say. It's a struggle to get the supplies that you want, and if you can get them, you just have to redeploy all the time. So they will overwork that system, just so you know. They will also work on the ammunition system and overhaul that one. A little bit the same problem as we have with the supplies. And they will work on bullet penetration too. And that, I think, will be a very cool thing. Of course, all the overhauls of the classes I'm looking forward to, especially also the transport vehicles and logistics vehicles. But I think a bullet penetration will add a lot more realism to the game and will make it more complicated but also more interesting to play. And in this developers briefing, the devs are not only giving us hints at the things that I just mentioned, they are also talking about their work on the existing maps that we have now. And these are 9 in total. And when reading this developers briefing, I just got the sense this developers team is caring for its community, and that's exactly why I got into Hell Let Loose and kept playing it. This is so awesome because the developers are saying in a paragraph about the current maps that they saw from the feedback of the community that they have to focus more on fixing and optimizing the current map rotation in the game, and also on updating the existing maps that we already have and bring them all on the same level as the new maps are right now with all their overhauls. And that means that they will work on the impenetrable fences, the lack of cover, and also some poor lighting that still exists on different maps, especially for Purple Heart Lane, Saint-Mer, Église, Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, Carentan and Foy, etc, etc. And they will also do heavier work on the Saint-Mer, Église. And they say their aim is to make sure each of the 9 existing maps have the same quality lighting, optimization, and that they are free of visual and gameplay bugs. And in addition, they are also making sure that gameplay feels good on each of the strong points, and especially the strong points, since there is the location where the gameplay just happens and is important. So just so you know, the developers now are prioritizing that they manage to fix the bugs that came with update number 7. They have all the overhauls still in pedo and are working on them concerning the engineer role, support role, etc. But they will focus also and especially on overhauling all the existing maps, that we get constant quality on all the maps, that it will be the same quality on each and every map that we have. In my opinion, a good step into the right direction. I think content is important, but it's also important that you have a good and consistent base when it comes to quality gameplay and quality in maps. So I think that is a very good step. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about that. Also concerning maps, they are just sneak peeking in a paragraph that they still have 3 unannounced maps that they are working on and that will be someday getting to play on. And they say they have the first unannounced map that is approximately 75% complete now. The second map is in a 15% complete station, and the third map is currently about 55% complete. So there's still a lot more content for us to come if you are worried about that one. So the devs are not focusing only on one thing, they are working just in every imaginable section that in the end profits the game. Now, as promised, coming to some other things that the developers are still working on and that they are working through the update feedback list too, so they can overhaul it, and those concern mostly sound things, animation, and a little bit of the HUD and UI. And I won't go into detail. I'll just give you some points that I think are important out of these, that they are still working on them and overhauling these. And yeah, let's just have a closer look at some points out of these. Starting with stuff that concerns the sounds. The developers want to make better positionality for enemy shooters. They want to refine and assign different interior sound volumes. So that means if you are in an industrial map part, it will sound different than if you are in a residential area. Makes sense, and I think that's especially a very cool thing on a new map like Quarantine. So they are still working and updating on that one. They will still do an overhaul of all heavy weapon sounds. That means especially the tank explosions, grenades, mines, bombing runs, etc. So we can expect some nice things to come from there too. They will continue to fix any occurring bugs, of course, that are sound related. They will now overhaul the footstep sounds too, and also the bullet impact sounds that still need some little work that they want to put some effort in. Next up are some points concerning the animation. As you know, with update number 7, we've also got a huge update to the first person and third person perspective animations. Here the developers will be working through visual bugs and glitches for both the first person and third person, of course. They will refine the systems for third person perspective to create more fluid visuals. That also includes altering and expanding some methods for player inertia. They will set the animations up with new weapons. They also scope out several new gadgets and also want to scope out a melee system and how that would look like. And I think that's a thing that the whole community is waiting for. Not only me, the melee system that finally has to come someday. We will get it. So be pumped for that one. Now coming to the last one, and that is changes that come for the HUD and the UI. The devs write here that they are still polishing off outstanding aspects of the HUD and UI that do not yet share the same design language as they implemented with update 7. Some of you guys have probably noticed that while playing. Here they will also scope out additional forced UI items, and they'll also revise tactical map readability issues, and I think that quite is the most important point out of these, the tactical map readability, and also that it is easy to use for us players, but still being historically accurate as much as possible. And these are the smaller changes that the devs are still focusing on and overhauling and working on. But with that, the developers briefing is not yet finished. One big thing that I kept for the end here, and that I then also want to end this developers briefing with, is the design changes that came with update number 7, especially the changes that came to the meta game around garrisons. And I think here it is the best to just read to you guys what Max has to say about how the developers experienced all these changes, how they came to the community and also to the gameplay. We've been playing a lot since the update and feel that the game is now moving in the desired direction, characterized by much more logical flow of infantry during attack and defense, as well as a lack of Gary bombing. Defending is rewarded now with far fewer 360-degree attacks, while offensive units can exploit gaps in the line in a much more rewarding fashion. To this end, the recon mechanic within the game is now far more powerful, enabling you to relay far more useful information due to more consistent enemy locations and pathing. We feel now that the flow of battle is now far more stable and provides a great basis for us to expand with new mechanics, namely transport, vehicles, additional commander abilities, the support and engineer rework, and half-tracks. That said, several issues remain, largely around indestructible garrisons behind the lines in locked sectors. Fortunately, many of the creative ideas that the community have had about dealing with these are exactly where we want to go. And adding to this statement of Max concerning the new metagame changes that you also were able to experience since update number 7, the devs also wrote some tweaks that they are also working on. And these are namely that they want to overhaul the supply metagame, a little bit that I've mentioned before. They want to rework the resource node functionality and also expand it, enabling functional use of them by soldiers and vehicles on the battlefield, which is an amazing idea in my opinion. They want to work on the ammunition separation and expansion, so that means different ammo boxes for different ammo types. Also, when doing the engineer overhaul, they will provide new gadgets and all deployables significantly reworked to become powerful and useful. They rework the support role, as mentioned before, to alleviate the die and respawn game loop, which is very important in my opinion. And they will also work on some specific new gadgets, weapons and loadouts to create new playstyles and also interesting meta. And that, ladies and gentlemen, sums up the developers briefing of this week. I hope you enjoyed the content I provided. If you did so, please leave a comment, like the video if you did so, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see each other on the battlefield.